Hi everyone, it's Rio Cloudsync. In today's session, we're focusing on a brand new capability in Microsoft Entra ID, and that is the ability to request risk remediation as part of conditional access. Now that naturally coincides with Entra ID protection, therefore you require an Entra ID Plan 2 license to be assigned to your user account. Now for many years now, partners and end customers have been leveraging Entra ID protection for not only user risk but also sign-in risk. Entra ID protection is built on three key things. One being user intent, i.e. information you provide Microsoft. Two being machine learning, being behavior analytics. And three being threat intelligence derived from Microsoft themselves. And those partners and those end customers have been creating user risk and sign-in risk policies. For today's scope, we're focusing on user risk. Now, user risk is very limited in the fact that the scope is all users, and the access control is effectively block access completely to a risky user based on business email compromise scenarios, token theft, impossible travel, anomalous IP addresses being detected, or alternatively allow access but require a password change. However, that doesn't relinquish or revoke the access tokens. Therefore, if the threat actor still has the access token, they can effectively laterally move across M365 and Azure. So what Microsoft have done, they've introduced a new capability in conditional access, which is being able to request remediation of risky users and automate that process of not only identifying but also evaluating and remediating risk. So why have Microsoft introduced this? Well, risky users of course have active risk detection such as leaked credentials, password sprays, or even session history involving a compromised password. And the ability to be able to mandate and prompt a user to perform a secure password change and when completed revoke their access tokens is just as important, and this is why Microsoft has introduced this capability. And even for passwordless scenarios where risk detections include kind of anomalous token, impossible travel, or even unfamiliar sign-in properties, the user sessions can be revoked and they're also prompted to re-sign in again. So how we set this up? So okay, let's create a conditional access policy. So for this particular policy, we're going to call it request remediation for risky users. Of course, there's better naming conventions out there. However, this is my sandbox instance. Now for the assignment scope, we've got an option to target all users within the Entra ID directory, or alternatively select appropriate directory roles. For this particular demo, we're going to select Global Administrator. Why that is, this is a privileged role. Best practices always say to exclude a break class account or you as a managed service provider. For this instance, we're going to exclude you as an MSP, which is found here under guests and service providers. Now under target resources, we're going to select all resources rather than individual resources. Individual resources aren't supported, unfortunately. Network we're going to leave as is, and conditions we're going to define the user risk levels, which for me are going to be medium and high. It's not to say you can't select all three. Now this is where we start to see the new capability under access controls. So where we see grants, there's an option to require risk remediation. If I select that, you'll notice it also selects require authentication strength. Not only that, it's also enabled sign-in frequency every time. And there's two reasons for that. One, users need to be prompted to re-authenticate after the sessions are revoked. And two, require an authentication strength ensures that the password-based and passwordless users are covered by the policy. Now, what you can potentially do is either leave this in report only and audit for the time being, or enable. And like I said, this is just automating that process for user risks or users detected as risky, of which the access tokens will be revoked.